Hey y'all, today we're talking about the Google algorithm leak and Google AI overviews. Why are both of these so important? Why is everyone freaking out about this algorithm leak? And what I think is actually more important, which is AI overviews. So we're going to talk a little bit about how they both correlate. We're going to talk about the key takeaways from the Google algorithm leak. We're going to go into what it means, and we're going to talk about what no one else seems to be talking about, and those are the AI ranking factors and how the Google algorithm leak actually plays into that. So let's get started. So first, this Google algorithm leak is huge. It is over 2,500 pages of code and detailed Google data, but it is not complete. It doesn't actually tell us where these fall in the ranking factors. So in terms of how much weight is actually being applied to each one of these ranking factors, we know that overall there was over a total of like 1,500, I think, Google algorithm ranking factors. But where they actually fall and how heavy they are weighed in terms of where you might rank, we don't actually know. It's still speculative. The second thing to note is that this has not only been verified by ex-Google employees and several other sources, but also Google itself came out later on and said that yes, this was a leaked document from our repository. Third, you don't want to listen to what Google says. Even though they just came out and said that it was a Google leak, Google has a history of saying one thing, and then what this document showed us is that they're actually either flat out lying or they're twisting the words to make it seem like it's not an actual ranking factor when this documentation actually verifies that they are still ranking factors. So everything that Google says going forward, and as we have noticed in the past, we always try to take with a grain of salt. Fourth, they have this system called Nav Boost. And what it does is it essentially assigns scores to help determine the rank of a page or a piece of content on your website. And based off of that score for each page, your overall site, and your competitors' sites, help determine where your ranking is on Google for certain queries. Fifth, Google is, despite what they said, tracking Chrome interactions. So if you're using Google Chrome, every interaction you have on there is being tracked through clicks and what sites you're going to, what add-ons you have in there, what your history looks like. All of it is being tracked and monitored and does actually impact rankings. In addition to Chrome being tracked, other ranking factors include location. You want to have authors assigned to each one of your blogs. You want to have author pages to verify that the author is in fact a real person. You want to have links to the author's social media pages, LinkedIn page, things like that to, again, reinforce and verify that this is in fact a real person. And you want to make sure all of your business details are matching across Google Business Profile, your website, your social media platforms, and any directories that you're associated with. In addition to that, behavior. Behavior is also considered a huge ranking factor from this leak. And essentially what that means is your user audience behavior, but not just on your site. Again, going back to this Chrome tracking, if we look at it in a sense of user journey, as soon as you open up a browser on Chrome, your user journey begins. And Google is tracking all of the clicks and analyzing essentially the thought process from start to finish. So if they open up a browser, if they type in a keyword, they dive down the rabbit hole, start clicking on links and going to different places, they land on your site, and then they end up on 5 or 6 different pages down the line, still on your site, and then they close the browser. That entire journey is being tracked by Google, and it is playing into where you're ranking on Google. So it's important to think about the broader journey of how users get to your site instead of just how they're navigating around on your site. In addition to that, links. Links are also a critical piece. Backlinks, internal links, links in general. Backlinks are still important, but what's actually more important about backlinks is the quality of the backlink. And we'll go into more of that later, but also internal links. Internal links are a huge way to boost your relevancy and your topical authority and make sure that you're ranking for the keywords you want to rank for and Google actually verified this in that leak. And there's some other weird little snippets that we'll talk about more as we go through this. But one of the big things that I didn't expect and that we noticed through this algorithm leak was branding. Google prioritizes brands that are more recognized and more searched. So when your target audience is searching for a product or a service that you offer, you also want to make sure that they're searching for your brand. So add that to your keyword list if it isn't already on there. Add variations of your brand and brand identity and company name to that keyword list and make sure that you are ranking, and not just ranking, but also people are searching for it. So you have traffic looking at your brand name. Small businesses and medium-sized businesses, unfortunately, are going to suffer a lot because of that exact thing. Most small businesses and medium-sized businesses don't have a large brand recognition. And without having one established, they're going to struggle a lot more to get rankings and rank higher on Google, especially in a competitive niche compared to other larger brands. The last thing, main key takeaway, is relevance. Relevance to your industry, your niche, your content, your site, what your target audience is searching for. Essentially, what it boils down to is relevancy. And how relevant you are, not just to your audience from a branding perspective, but also in your industry and how relevant your topics are. All of that plays heavily into your rankings. What does all of this mean? First of all, let's talk about click-through rate. Click-through rate matters and backlinks matter. And what that means is that you want to make sure your backlinks have traffic going to the page that is linking back to your page. So does that make sense? You want the page that is linking back to your page to actually have relevant traffic and have that traffic actually clicking on the link that links back to your page. And if they are not doing that, Google is not going to assign a very high value to that backlink, and they're not going to pass any topical authority through that backlink to your site. Going back to monitoring clicks and click-through rate, Google is also looking at that click-through rate on your links. So if someone else is on another website and they see a link on that website to your website, Google is counting the number of clicks. And once they click through to your website, they're also making sure that they're staying on your site and not just clicking there and going back. So you want to make sure that the audience that is going to your site through other websites is staying on your site. And you can do that by optimizing your content, making sure it is super relevant to whatever you are linking from. Speaking of backlinks, Google's also looking at anchor text. And this is something we noticed in the algorithm leak that needs more attention. Anchor text is a ranking factor in the sense that Google is looking to make sure that all of your anchor texts are somewhat related. It doesn't necessarily have to be that every anchor text is the same words, which we actually don't want, but that they are related to the services and the products that you offer, and that you have multiple links that are relatable to each other. How does this break down? We want relevant, high quality traffic follow-through backlinks. Your anchor texts need to be related and relevant to the service and products or queries that you're trying to answer. The next thing on the list is brand identity. Again, we talked about this earlier. Brand identity and exposure are more important than we previously anticipated. You need to focus on building your brand through creating social media profiles, creating social media groups, and engaging with the community to build your brand identity, pushing out PR posts, making sure that the community around you, both digitally and in the real world, know that your brand exists and people are actually and actively searching for your brand on Google, not just the products and services that you offer. Google specifically wants to see those search terms for your brand, and it increases your authority, which in turn increases your rankings. User intent and user experience, or UX, matter. You want to answer these questions. What is your primary audience doing on your site? Are they there to get information? Are they there to buy a product or service? And does your site align with the intent of your target audience? You also want to make sure your site is performing well and has a proper layout so it's easy to navigate, ranks high, and loads fast on page speed insights, and is doing a good job of keeping your target audience actually on your website, bumping them around to other pages to help them find the answers they're looking for or find other products or services that you offer from reading the content that's actually on the page. One interesting thing we did find that may seem small, but I think it's important to mention, is link font size matters. It sounds silly. I'm not sure how relevant it is. Again, we don't know how relevant any of these ranking factors are or how important they are, but it is actually a ranking factor, so I think it's worth mentioning. The font size of your links, both internal and external, so backlinks included, matters. So if you can get a backlink, that's great. If you can get them to increase the font size of your backlink and bold it, that's even better. But all of your internal links, blow it up a couple font sizes and maybe bold it, and Google assigns slightly higher ranking value to that backlink. Sounds easy? We'll see how relevant and how helpful it actually is in ranking. And the last thing is focus on page rankings. Your homepage should have a high domain authority score. Your domain rating and domain authority score is built by your authoritativeness and the content and relevancy of your site compared to the niche or industry that you're in. You want to build up that homepage score because Google actually passes that domain authority score along to new pages. So as you're building out more and more content, those new pages aren't going to have any domain authority at all. And Google understands that. And in order to help balance the scales a little bit for new content, they actually pass some of that domain authority juice onto those other pages. So you want to make sure that your homepage domain authority is actually good. Again, this is something that small businesses and medium-sized businesses struggle with, but it backs up to good branding and brand recognition, as well as relevancy and topical authority within your industry or niche. So how does this impact current SEO tactics? First, SERPs, featured snippets, questions people ask are still critical, along with AI overviews, which is totally changing the game and how Google search is presenting data and how it's even pulling and crawling Google search for data. So as that continues to unfold, these strategies are going to evolve. It's still important, though, to focus on organic rankings and not just AIO or SERPs. If you just focus on taking care of all the ranking factors that we found in the Google leaks, you're not going to help yourself any. You might get a whole bunch of keyword rankings and first page organic rankings, but you may not get any traffic because SERPs and AI overviews have really pushed all of your organic rankings down to the bottom of page one, or at least where page one used to be. So what we should do instead is focus on good, well-written, well-optimized, long-form, informative content. It's the easiest way to get rankings, not just organically, but also in SERPs and also in AI overviews. So focus on continuing to create solid, informative, long-form content and acquiring extremely high-value, relevant backlinks that can drive traffic from those other sites to your site. Focus on building your brand and building your topical authority. You want to make sure you're writing about topic pillars from the services and products you offer and have all of those blogs that are related to those topical pillars link back to those products or services. If you want more information about the algorithm leak, there are two fantastic articles I cannot recommend more. The first one is by Randy Fishkin. I hope I'm not mispronouncing your last name, Randy, or Rand, but he's the one that actually received the Google leak. He wrote this incredible article talking about all the different aspects and everything that he was able to break down. He received the leak on May 5th, and this document was released at the end of May. So it tells you how much time he actually spent diving deep into this and trying to break it all down so we know exactly what came from this leak. The second article is by Mike King. He wrote an amazing article on iPullRank that talks more in depth about some of these different ranking factors, whole screenshots. He himself went through the algorithm leak as well and looked at specific things. And I think between these two articles, both very long articles, but extremely detailed, provide a immense amount of value in context around this leak and allow us to be able to better understand what is important and what we need to focus on going forward. The last thing we're going to talk about is AI overviews. And I think this is a critical piece of the puzzle that nobody else seems to be talking about. So we're going to dive into something that I think is even more important than the Google algorithm leak documents. And that's the AI overviews patent. This is the patent documentation for AI overviews that Google published. And you can see right here, patentimagestorage.googleapis.com. This is easily accessible to anyone. And if you scroll down and you start reading through all of this, it essentially breaks down how Google's AIO algorithms work. And the truth is that it's kind of its own standalone system. It's not really Google search. It's not really the two combined into one. It's really just its own LLM, like ChatGPT, but without any access to data. It's taking the data, the query that you put in Google, and then it is actually querying Google's search, that same query, and then also changing up what you searched to add in different variations of that, pumping all of that into Google search, taking all of that and then combining it back into a conversational response. So what does that exactly mean? And how is this helpful for ranking? First, it's important, again, to note that this is a standalone system based off their patent documentation and based off the results of what we've been seeing through trial and error and just testing this thing as much as we can. It is a standalone system, which means all the different ranking factors that we've taken not just from this leak, but through years of trial and error are still relevant. Things that we know will help you rank organically and for SERPs will also help you get mentioned in AI overviews. And down the line, when AIO is able to have access to all the index sites directly from Google, might be a different story. Could be a totally different algorithm at that point, and our strategies will again adapt. But right now, if you focus on the key ranking factors that you know work, you can rank. The last thing is that Google's AI overviews is querying for recent data. AIO is taking that newer data and weighing it against the older data for relevancy and accuracy, and weighing that in its response back and that conversational response you get from AI overviews. So you want to make sure you're keeping your content up to date. You want to make sure that your content is informative. You're focusing on ranking factors that we know are tried and true. You want to focus on building your brand, and you want to focus on building topical authority. You focus on those things, you'll have no problem getting organic rankings, SERPs, and mentions in AI overviews. If you like this video, and I hope you did, let me know by subscribing, giving this video a like, put a comment below if you have any questions, or if you have any other thoughts on this Google algorithm leak or this AIO patent. I'll put a link to the patent, these articles, and this document that kind of breaks down everything a little bit more in a link below in the descriptions. Hope you have a wonderful day. We'll catch you on next time. Peace.